Yes, hello and welcome once again to this, the home of cricket. That's right. It is Club Prairie Fire, the home of Tequila, Tabasco, and the Duckworth Lewis Stern system. I am the professor back in Sydney where I belong. Gilly, I believe, is in Perth. Vaughany is, I think, in Melbourne. And Ollie, well, who the hell knows where Ollie is ever? There has been a lot going on in the world of cricket over the last week or so. We've had a smorgasbord of T20 international action with India taking on Afghanistan, Sri Lanka versus Zimbabwe, and New Zealand versus Pakistan. The Big Bash has been ticking along nicely. India's coming to the pointy end of the season. We're 9 days away from Bazball making its debut in India, and Australia are about to take on the West Indies in a 2-test series as well. The cricket just keeps coming. It is relentless. It will never stop. So let's bring in the guys that love it more than anybody. Gilly, Vaughany, how are you, gents?
Very good, very good. Thanks, mate. Yes, well, you're close. I'm sort of in Perth, down a bit further south. And in fact, while Vaughany says hello, for those that can't see us, for those that are just listening, I'm looking directly into the sun. So, Vaughany, over to you. I'm just got to go and get some eye protection. I'm going to do the Ravi Shastri. So, bear with me. How are you, Vaughany?
Yeah. I'm in Melbourne. Been here for a few days. Nipped over from Perth. Had a couple of days in Perth. Drank a few beers. Did a big bash. Came back to Melbourne. Went to the tennis. Saw a bit of Novak. Good game of tennis at the Rod Laver. Did a big bash game last night at the G, which was good. DJ was on fire. Jesse James, I like him. And now I'm going to Adelaide to run the shop. That's what I'm doing. I'm off to Adelaide to just run it.
Now, as in you're hosting,
Everything.
It is the Michael Vaughan show. Are you the only one on? Is it just you throwing to yourself? Or?
Well, I did see the running order, and I did see that I have a lot of segments. So I'm actually turning up at 6:30 just to go through a few things for a 10 o'clock start. It looks like I'm doing a bit of a roaming session out in the middle. I'm doing the toss. I've got the toss. So what do you want me to say at the toss? Because obviously I have to say, look, I'm here at the magnificent Adelaide over the first test of a 2-test match series, Australia versus the West Indies. And then there's that moment. Now, Ravi shouts, toss time. What do you want me to say?
I think just a very generic mention of Club Prairie Fire is perfect. Really.
What about if I bring in it's flip the coin time?
I don't mind that. Let's get ready to toss.
It's flick it time, Pat.
Yeah,
that's it. Let's get ready to toss.
What? Do you want that? Do you want the
boxing
announcement?
Let's try that.
You are the busiest man alive tomorrow down in Adelaide. You're right, 6:30 is not early enough, mate. You got the full book.
Now, I'm about to bring Ollie in, but before I do, I wanted to commend you two guys. Now, I've worked for a while in comedy, but I've never delivered a joke quite like Gilly you delivered to Glenn Maxwell during the coverage.
Yeah.
That was champagne comedy. It was nailed.
Yeah.
Don't worry about Maxie's reaction. It was a very good joke, Gilly. Were you guys okay after?
I actually, 2 days later, I rang Maxie just to say I'd read a few press reports about it, and that there's a perception around that he didn't take it well. So I rang him and just to make sure, and he basically told me to fuck off. Not for saying the joke, for questioning whether he was upset by it. He said, "Mate, you would have known if I was upset by it." So we're tight. We're tight. Geez, it was hanging there ready to pick, wasn't it? That bit of fruit, so it had to be plucked.
Vaughany, obviously you were there when Gilly nailed the line.
I liked it.
And it was a great reaction for it. Basically, it was to do with Maxie's inability to stay on the back of a golf cart. Did you? Was it preconceived or was it just shot from the hip from Gilly?
I didn't know it was coming. I mean, it started with his rather tight golf shirt that he was wearing, and he just happened to bring out a bit of comedy genius. No, I like those kind of moments because I don't really. I probably don't look like I'm not doing anything but piss myself on television. which
Now,
is always quite. There's been a couple of good moments on the Big Bash. I enjoyed Howie and Wazim just reminding Junior about the fake elephant at the Marvel.
yeah, that
And
was good.
Wazim had never seen it. Wazim come commentate for about 4 balls. He was crying.
Laurie Evans singing "Sweet Caroline" Vaughany was also quite the highlight over there in Perth. That was
but what you don't get on TV is what we get in the combox. And next to us is Laurie Colliver. Now, big Laurie Colliver, the greatest stato in the history of world cricket. Now, what Laurie was up off his chair, giving it the big fella. If only we could have had a camera on Big Loza.
very good. Now,
Hey, I don't know whether you've got me. I've got full bar reception here. Look at that go.
Good now,
I've put a few coins in the meter. Just back to those discussions, and I mean, there's nothing like getting a guest on. Like we've had Maxi on, and then take the opportunity to slam dunk him on international TV. We had David Warner on, and Vaughany, you didn't miss your opportunity, mate. You were like a dog with a bone about that helicopter. I saw that last night. You did not miss him.
No, he got a bit of stick, didn't he, old Dave? Got his dancing on TikTok, managed to sneak that. Took me 3 hours to get that in. I reckon it was probably 6 hours in before I asked him about the baggy green. Yeah, I enjoy having these superstars next to us. It makes our life a little bit easier.
well, speaking of superstars, Gilly, I mean, you have once again outdone yourself, and you actually lined this guest up. Ooh, I'm going to say 45 minutes ago.
Yeah. It was big prep, big pre-game. We decide everyone can see in here, a bit ad hoc. We're all in different venues, and Vaughany's not far away from jumping on a plane, and I'm down in a place with no reception. But we thought we'd push on, and I thought we'll throw some chaos in the mix. And who do you get on before a West Indies series? None other than the Prince, Brian Charles Lara. So hopefully we'll have him jumping on very, very shortly.
That's a massive get. That, I mean, who's left? The little master? I mean, there's not many bigger than Brian, is there? I mean, Vaughany, you'd probably say someone like Steve Harmison, but I think...
yeah. Big Steve. And Steve's always got plenty to say. We've got an endless list of superstars in the UK. So, Brian's all right.
I'm most interested in talking to Brian about his last game for the West Indies, which coincided with 1M Vaughan getting burnt by Kevin Peterson, run out in Barbados. I reckon that was the same fixture, which we've already touched on previously. But we'll get to Brian in a moment. You can see Ollie. I haven't really heard much from Ollie.
Sorry, yeah. Ollie, I want to bring you in and welcome and hello. And I would think the perfect moment to bring you in, obviously we're talking about Gilly's wonderful joke to Maxi, but there was also the very funny thing that Gilly said about Pakistan that I think that you wanted to bring up as well.
Yeah.
Why did I say that?
As head of socials, I also thought I was getting the best intro ever, though. He said some legends, and now's another legend, and then you went on to Brian Lara. But anyway, yes, there was a tweet that I put privately to Prof that was, Pakistan is the worst Asian team in Australian conditions. What they won here. And I said, I don't think he said this, given the next social video, which went crazy, was how impressive basically Pakistan were, and especially Saim Ayub, who you've given big praise to. He then 20 minutes later hit 25 off 8 balls, just smoking it everywhere. So Gilly, do you want to clear up this quote and where it's come from?
The quote is complete. To quote the great man, false news. So you can put that to bed. That's why I put it out there. Rubbish. So we don't need to give that quote or that tweet any airtime. But what we do need to do, you touched on it, how's our man Sam? Because we are going to tag him. We're riding him, I said, like an Alabama tick. We're not falling off him. What's he done since he's left Australian shores?
Yeah, absolutely. Sam Ayub, one to watch. And there's one other social message we got. You may remember last week we had a lovely message on YouTube about us being like a dysfunctional family that no one can understand, but you just chat the whole time. That man is Ryan James, who's actually got back in touch, and it's our first really lovely message. And he said, thanks so much for mentioning me on the podcast. Currently going through a cancer battle, and when you gave me a mention, it gave me the biggest high. Love the show on YouTube, Ryan. So good on Ryan James, and keep going because love the support.
Very
That's
nice.
fantastic. Thanks. I am worried that we've done about 30 of these episodes, and that's the first positive email that we've had. That's slightly worrying, but good luck with everything, Ryan. Hey, look who's joined us here, folks. Gilly, I thought you were joking, but you have lined up one hell of a superstar. Now, as you guys know, I'd like to bring him in with a bit of an intro, so let me do this. Here we go. Our next guest on Club Prairie Fire. He is a man who holds the record of the most test runs in an innings with 400 not out, the highest first-class score with 501 not out. He's the fastest batsman to 10,000 test runs, and a man whose 153 against Australia in 1999 is second on the Wisden all-time best innings list, behind one done by the Don. Please welcome the one and only Brian Lara.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you.
Good to have you, mate.
BC.
Second.
Last time I got a clap from you, Vaughany, was in 2004.
Hey, Brian, let's not go back to the 2004 days. Now, tell me about this shirt you're wearing. Is that a West Indies football shirt? They've come to play soccer.
Well, it's nice. It's just with the times, but I wore it purposely, knowing that you would be here, and just to turn you off. You just seem to be confused whenever you see me in these colors and with this logo on it. So you got to bear it for the next 15-20 minutes. I hope you can do so. Not 3 days.
So what formation the West Indies going to play? They're going to go 4-4-2 or 5-3-1? What they're going to play?
4-4-2 with a goalkeeper.
if I'd give them some advice, I'd kind of go for Greece won the Euros one year. I think, what year was that, Ollie, when Greece kind of went about 450 men behind? 2004, 450 men behind the ball. I reckon the West Indies should try that approach.
Okay, we'll see. It's five full days coming up in Adelaide. Hopefully, we can see some good cricket. I'm not as optimistic as you in terms of our football prowess, but I think that we are better capable on the cricket field.
Like to hear it.
I don't know about that, Brian.
Now,
and great to see you, mate. Thanks for jumping on, Brian. I don't know about that saying you're not so good at the football. Do you remember 2005 down in Hobart? We played you guys in the test down there. We got the chocolates in the cricket field, but then we had a massive all-in game of football, and you blokes absolutely pantsed us. Big, the universe boss up front, just tapping them in everywhere.
We're talking about two minnows in world football, the West Indies and Australia. So anything can happen on that stage.
Now, Brian, obviously, Test match starts tomorrow. West Indies, 7 debutants. Can they come out firing? Can they put up a fight in this first Test in Adelaide?
Oh, well, I had a little trundle down at the cricket ground, and the pitch, has a fair amount of grass in it, which means that, it could serve both teams very well. We got the experienced Kemar Roach and, of course, Alzari Joseph. I actually think that we got a security guard in 2022 that might be making his debut as well. And I had a look at him in the nets, and I can tell you he looked pretty good. For me, I always like to throw back to, Gilly was there as well. And 13 months ago in Perth, the West Indies put up a really strong fight against the Australians, taking it to tea on the 5th day. Something that I think New Zealand and India, two stronger teams, couldn't do in their previous 2 matches. Is that a possibility again? I think yes. Raw ability of the West Indies players is always there. I will stand by that all the time. When it comes to that natural ability, it's there. Harnessing that ability for this sort of stage is where we fall down a bit. Unpredictable. My feeling about what could happen in terms of how much of a fight that we can put up. Australia is definitely outstanding favorites, and we have to accept that they are favorites with most teams that they play against.
We were just talking there, Brian, about Simon Ayub, who's come up, and the boys have picked him as an absolute star for the future from the Pakistan series. who's the name in this squad that for years we're going to be going, okay, he made his name in Australia and is going to have a big future?
Well, that's actually, as performance mentor, that's something that, I had a nice little chat with the guys. Are you here? Are you turning up to get experience, or is someone here going to stand out? Is someone here is going to say that, they left Australia with their names on everyone's tongue? I think young Chandrapal, Tangerine Chandrapal almost did that on our last outing. Didn't go on to much over the last 12 months. He's back again. But I like young Alec Martinez. I think he's got a very aggressive approach to the game as a batter. He's left-handed like myself and Gilly and not Vaughany. And I think he's someone that could, against any attack, this could be, a great not start his career, but a great way for him to announce himself in Australia.
Brian, this podcast isn't that serious, so I want to ask you the big questions. You host a party in Trinidad every year at that magnificent house. In your opinion, what year and what vintage has been the greatest ever party that you've hosted?
Well, what could it be? I think it was the year that Halle Berry turned up. Yeah,
There you go. There you go.
I think I'm talking from the host point of view. But if you're talking about the ladies that attend the party, I think Sir Richard Branson made an appearance and Mick Jagger, and somehow the attention just shifted away from me for quite some time. So we've got some stellar years over the last. This is our 24th year coming up.
Brian, just intrigued really on Halle Berry, to be honest.
Yeah.
Was she a nice lady?
Well, yeah, very nice lady. She wasn't allowed in for some time. The person at the front desk did not recognize Halle Berry, and the guy walking around said, if you want Brian to be angry for the rest of the night, you would leave this lady out. You better let her in right now. He proceeded to come upstairs. I was upstairs just chilling out. I was with my girlfriend at the time, and before he could say, when he said Halle, before he said Berry, I was in the shower. And
what with her?
No.
That's
nice one, Bonnie. Nice one.
Hey,
sharp.
Brian, clearly you've got a good contact list. I don't know whether previously in your single times how you went about linking up with ladies, but not sure if you've ever been on Raya. But our man Ollie is always keen to meet other people. Any tips for him? How do you get access to a Halle Berry? I mean, don't set your sights too high, Ollie, but get some words from a master here.
Oh Lord, you know what? Right, I had a long time Australian football player, Essendon. His name is Rick Lorenzo.
Oh yeah,
and he had a wonderful time. The first year, such a great time that he came back 5 years on the trot. So Ollie, Qantas flies to LAX, then down to Miami, and then down to Trinidad, and you can get your flex in.
Did you?
Is that? Wait a minute. Can I just clarify this, Brian? You're inviting Ollie to the Trinity party at your house?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've had many guests over the years, and Ollie, is there a problem with that? Am I missing something?
No, that's great. What are the dates, Brian? Just so because the Club Prairie Fire, we're on the road. We like traveling. So
can we all come?
You can all come. What's it? Cathay Pacific leaves at 10:20 from Sydney. I'm on it to Hong Kong, to New York, and then down to Trinidad. And then the next 6 and 7 days will be unbelievable.
Just on Cathay
he's
now.
Just ringing the airline now.
Wow,
Now-
this is
Tremendous.
interesting. I like it.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Brian, I wanted to ask you, back in the day, obviously Gilly and Vaughany both in very good sides that you played against. Playing up against them, who were you more nervous taking on, Australia in its prime or England in its prime?
A very, very easy answer to that. Nervous taking on England in their prime because they weren't in their prime very long. And by the time I really got into my career, Australia was already on top of us. So, it's like not a fait accompli, but we were always back against the wall against Australia. But England, that late 90s period getting in, to the 21st century when they really started to get into top gear with, likes of Vaughany in charge and Flintoff. And, Vaughany, I had 100 runs in those 3 test matches in the Caribbean, and we were 3-0 down with one to go.
Mm.
And I just couldn't let it happen. I mean, England, when they're on top, they really let you know they're on top. And that was the most scary thing. Australia accepted for many years after 1995, but oh boy, the English.
Brian,
The English.
I was going to ask you that. I mean, your record is incredible. So you get 500 playing for Warwickshire. You hit my team for 400. You hit another England team for 375. Was it that you just like to pick on the England team, or was it that we were just shit?
Yeah, the latter. The latter.
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I think if there's so much different little anecdotes and phrases. Scoring 100 against Durham and or not even scoring 100, getting to 10 and being dropped, and the wicketkeeper saying that he's going to go on to score 100. Well, these are just funny stuff, and Michael Atherton really backing and thinking that England going to beat the West Indies in 1994. These are stuff that really tells me that England a little bit clueless at sometimes. But
Hey, Brian, just on your preparation, we had Darren Lehman on this fantastic podcast that's got no sponsors a few weeks ago, and he is that right? He's got 82 first-class centuries. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I asked Darren Lehman how many of those centuries did he get hungover, and in a serious state, he just said 70. So, of all the hundreds that you scored in county cricket and against England, how many were you hungover, or how many were scored on the back of about 30 minutes kip?
no, well, quite a few. I mean, but there's always one that stands out. And we were playing against Australia in '95, and Dwight Yorke, one of my best friends, had an international break. I think he was still at Aston Villa. And there was a little pub at the bottom of the hill called the Pelican, down from the Hilton Hotel. And at about 10 to 12, I turned to him and I said, I need to head up. And he said, Brian, I haven't seen you for months. I haven't seen you. I mean, just spend a little bit of time with me. About 1 minute to 12, I said, I have to go. And he held on to me and he said, listen, anything after 12, if you break in the curfew, break it properly. So I strolled up to the Hilton about 4 o'clock in the morning. And Dwight woke up about midday and he turned on the television and I was in 125. So that is one of my that is the one that I could remember. But I'm sure there were quite a few that either leaving trams in London or somewhere in Edgbaston or even in Australia. Just once, I didn't score 100, but I think I got some sort of poisoning on New Year's Eve in Melbourne, and I spent the entire day, Christmas Day, in bed, and took about 2 or 3 days to recover during the test match before I got going. So I've had my experiences. But when you play sport back in those days, that was actually part of it. We didn't have that WhatsApp and Instagram and thing to keep our time. we had to go out. We had to go out and do things to have fun.
And
Well, on that, I just
all
want to go
the
back
better for
to the England record, which is very impressive. You've got there, we mentioned at the top, the 400 not out. The question I don't know if you've been asked before, but how many would you have gone on to get if it was the unlimited days tests? Do you reckon you would have been good to bring up 1,000? Because it looked pretty easy.
Well, Vaughan started to bowl when I got to 300, so definitely that was inside. That was a great possibility. And he bowled with mid off and mid on up.
Mate, I was
Jesus,
trying to get you to the record because I wanted your bat and you gave it me.
But you know what? There was a little. There was maybe I think in Antigua there's about 14,000 tickets. The locals bought all of it and sold it to the English tourists that were coming down. So we were playing at home but away from home. And I could feel the tension in the crowd when I got to 400, and I knew the spectators were feeling just as tired as the guys on the field. So I decided to surrender. I said I had enough. I had enough.
Hey, what you didn't realise though, Brian, well, there's two things that happened at that test match. Ashley Giles was a genius because he pulled out on the morning of the match with a I don't know, a sore back or something. Gareth Batty had to play. So that was the greatest move of all time from Ashley Giles. And when you got to around 250, I remember getting the team in the huddle going, "This is historic, lads. This is magnificent." I said, "BC's going to get the record here." I said, "Please, just keep letting them go through. This is magnificent." And what's the guy that hangs from the stands called?
Great gravy.
Gravy, yeah, he was all over the stand, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I do like the fact your relaxed, eased attitude towards the game gone through. For me, I found that you were the bloke that could manipulate the field like no other. We get asked between Sachin, yourself, who are the best. Hard to split you both, but I found you could toy with the field. And for you guys, Ollie, Vaughany, Prof, I'll try and relate this quickly. Playing a one-day international, I'm up over the stumps. Ian Harvey, medium pacer bowling. Brian hits one backward a point past Andrew Simons for 4. Ricky brings a fielder from mid-wicket, 2 backward points, doubles up there. Brian says, as his bowler's running, he says, "Mistake." And I pull away. I said, hang on. What did you say? He said, "Oh, that's a mistake." And I said, "Mate, you bat, we'll set the field. Leave us to do our job." So next ball is wide of off stump because that's where the field's set. Brian walks across, flicks it through the vacant mid-wicket region. Okay. I said, "Yeah, great, smart ass. That's easy. There's a big gap there. I'll bet you a Cuban cigar you can't get this one backward a point." Sure enough, straight at the stumps, halves goes, thinking he's going to try and flick it across. Brian laces it backward a point between Ricky Ponting and Andrew Simons, straight to the boundary. I couldn't. But the fun did you get bored? Did you just start to try to create challenging situations? Because that was unbelievable. And I do owe you a cigar.
I remember that occasion, Gilly, very vividly. It's just sometimes you're just having fun, and I think one of the things I see a lot in batters today is that they hit the ball directly to fielder. I always felt that when I was going on the attack, I had this picture of where everyone in the field was, and pretty much wanted to make sure that whenever I was going on the attack, that I was going to find a gap. Bored? No, I love batting. I never got bored of batting. I just love batting. I love creating shots and scoring runs. And it was just a part of the game. But, I remember that. I remember you being very stubborn at the back there. But Vaughany, I didn't have to do that in Antigua, did I?
Do you want to just keep going on about Antigua? Do you know, right, the true story, when you got your 375, I was in Antigua with Yorkshire on a pre-season, and we were meant to be playing a game of cricket that day. We turned up at the cricket ground to play this local team. We get there at 9 o'clock in the morning, 10:30 start. No one turned up. They'd all gone to watch you bat, right? So our coach went, well, we can't play again. We'll have a middle practice. It's a true story. We had a middle practice. After about half an hour, there's a batter at Yorkshire called Simon Kellett. He was batting. And a police officer walked by the ground, and we were struggling for bowlers because there was only like 16 in the squad, the opposition not turn up. And this police officer goes up to our coach and goes, I'll bowl. So the coach goes, what do you want to bowl? A bit of pace. He said, do you need... No, I just bowled him these boots. He just had some big black boots on. The first ball, I kid you not, he ran up with this new ball. Simon Kellett was batting. He flung the bouncer down, smacked him straight on the head. I always remember.
Well, I can't believe when I was told that Shamar Joseph, who I'm not sure if he's making his debut tomorrow, was a security guard. I mean, I looked at this guy in the nets, and he is in the late 80s, bowling in the late 80s, and good movement. And I was in shock. I mean, to understand that he's from Guyana as well, whereas, they produce a lot of spinners down in that area. But we're going to have a look at him over the next few days. And he might be one of those guys that, no matter if they have their police uniform on or their security uniform on, just that natural ability to do well. Didn't look too wholesome at the bats, but, I'm looking forward to seeing him bowl tomorrow.
Yeah, I hope we see him.
Absolutely. I've got one there because we've mentioned your runs in Antigua, but then also we've mentioned Yorkshire. And Brian, Vaughany gave you a great intro before you were on saying you weren't bad, but he's got a very high bar of greats in cricket. And to be a great, you've got to get a ton on a sticky dog Tuesday night in Scarborough after a night at Shades Wine Bar. You obviously spent some time at Warwickshire. Have you ever got a ton in Scarborough? Because otherwise you can't join a very big list of greats like Vaughany.
No ton in Scarborough. I got a banana, but not a ton.
Well, Brian, I think you'd have got 100 in Yorkshire on a Tuesday, wouldn't you? On a sticky wicket.
No? I don't know. I mean,
have you looked it up, Ol? Can you do some Googling?
I have done.
It's not easy to do, Brian.
Couldn't find it.
Depends.
Now,
it depends on the bar. Where the bar was. If they had a concrete flooring, or if it was grass on the outside, you never know.
Now, Vaughany, we're about to. You got to go catch a flight, right?
Yeah, I'm going to get on the plane to go and join Brian in Adelaide.
Oh, wonderful! Now, Ol, you have prepared a quiz. Brian, what we like to do on the show is, as a guest comes on, Ollie likes to prepare a quiz that basically pits our guest, his stats against the stats of Gilly and Vaughany, and it's always very entertaining. So, Ol, before we lose Vaughany, do you want to race through? Have you got time for this, Vaughany?
2 minutes.
I've got about 4 minutes.
Perfect.
4 minutes.
Okay, well, Gilly's Wi-Fi is not great, so he might type the answers, and we'll do that because we're dropping out a bit. But and if not, it's just between Vaughany and Brian. But here we go. We've got 4 minutes to get through the quiz, which has just been absolutely misplaced. Here we go. Okay, question number 1. It was hard finding stats that all were similar, but here we go. What is higher, the number of balls faced in tests by Vaughany, the number of List A runs scored by Gilly, or the number of runs scored by Brian Charles Lara in test matches? So, amount of balls faced by Vaughany in tests, Gilly's List A runs, or Brian's test runs? What are we saying is the highest?
List A runs.
Gilly's gone Brian.
I'm going Brian.
Vaughany's going Brian.
I know how you do these things, I'm going Brian.
Gilly.
He looks after the guest.
Vaughany. Well, I divided the amount of balls you possibly face in your test matches, and somehow I don't feel it will add to my runs.
Everyone's going
I
Brian.
go Brian as well.
Everyone's going Brian. That's correct.
Right, Brian, all I can say to you on this podcast, I've already reported many to HR for bullying, and I believe you might be a part of that group as well.
Vaughany, I think technically Ollie is the HR department, and he's doing most of the bullying. So I don't know how that works.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
And I'm on holiday in Trinidad for the next year, so sorry. Annual leave. Vaughany faced 11,188 balls. Gilly got 11,328 list day runs, but Brian Lara got 11,953 test runs. Points for everyone. Well done. Next one. Number 2. Who scored more ODI runs, Gilly or Brian? Very similar amount of games.
Gilly.
I'd go with Brian.
Brian says Brian.
Gilly scored a lot of runs, but I think he might have batted sometimes at number 6, 7. So part of his career might have been where, he didn't get an opportunity.
Yeah.
Teasing, can you just say that again? I love the way you say I'm going to go with Brian.
Third person. It is the correct answer. Gilly also said Brian, and you're both right. Yeah. Brian got 10,405, Gilly 9,614. Okay, so 2 points to Gilly and Brian, 1 to Vaughany. Number 3, who took the most wickets, Vaughany in tests or Brian in ODI cricket?
It's got to be me, hasn't it?
That's tricky. Vaughany, you want to put up your hand? I'll tell you if you get it.
What did you bowl?
I don't worry what I bowled. It's who I bowled to. That was the problem. I bowled to Angus Fraser and Inglesden. So that's the guys. These guys believe that they can get 40 in 6 balls. Somehow he's going to bowl a no baller. He's going to bowl something, and we're gonna win this game. So they swing from ball 1. They go swinging.
So you've been given a few wickets. I mean, I had to earn mine.
I will go with Vaughany.
Brian's gone Vaughany. Gilly's gone Brian.
I'm going me.
Brian got 4 ODI wickets. Vaughany got 6 test wickets. There you go. So Brian's on 3 out of 3.
Yep.
Gilly on 2. On 2. Lovely. We've got 2 to go. Question number 4. Who hit more test and ODI 6s, Brian or Gilly?
Gilly.
You hit a lot though, Brian. I think you hit me for 6.
Easy. That's Mr. 6 there.
I'll go Gilly. Gilly just slogged them all over the place, didn't he?
Everyone says Gilly, and that's correct. 249 for Gilly, 221 for Brian. Not far behind. But yeah, Gilly.
Now, if you're wondering why you can't currently hear Gilly, he's just typing his answers because the internet has officially died in the south of Western Australia. So.
That is right. So the final question, Brian is on 4 out of 4. This could be a full house, and that's why he's one of the absolute greats. And the other 2 just behind on 3. And the final question is, what is higher, Brian's test centuries in Australia, Vaughany's test centuries in Australia, or Gilly's test centuries in England and the West Indies?
Oh, good question.
England and the West Indies put together?
Yes, combined. There's a mask. If you're listening, Gilly's looking in the air. Vaughany's trying to do his.
I'm going Brian in Australia.
Vaughany's gone.
Where's Vaughany's 100?
In Australia as well. So you 2 in.
I knew it couldn't be in it. It couldn't be in India or Pakistan.
Gilly has gone Brian. Vaughany also gone Brian.
I'll go Brian. I'm not sure if I remember Gilly raising his bat in the West Indies.
Okay, well, for full marks, you've got it. Brian, you did it 4 times. Vaughany did it 3 times. Gilly did it once. He's swearing at you. He did it once in the West Indies and he did it once in England. So there you go. Brian, 5 out of 5.
Flip the bird.
Unbelievable.
That's a good effort. Guys, I've got to rack off. I've got to get to Adelaide.
Let's just say goodbye. Why don't we just say goodbye to everybody? It'll be very quick.
Perfect.
Brian, you've seen how this podcast works. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for coming on. A real treat to meet you for Ollie and I.
By the way, Brian, have you got some of this fragrance from Wazim? The 502.
Yeah.
It's not bad. To be honest, don't tell Wazim, but I don't want to take it home because it's too heavy, so I'm spraying it on myself every day to get rid of it.
Thank you, bro. We normally do a cheers to our guests.
But we've kind of lost Gilly. Oh, there's Gilly. All right, very good. Hey, Brian, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck to the West Indies. Gilly, good to see you. Ollie, that was Club Prairie Fire. If you want to follow us, it's at Club Prairie Fire on everything. Make sure you like and subscribe. We will see you next week.
Bye.
See you, guys.